The stars were full of powerful voices. Across the galaxy, there were empires that had ruled for thousands of years. They had fleets of silver ships that filled the skies, cities built on floating islands, and weapons that could destroy whole planets. Among these giants, there was one small blue world that none of them took seriously. That world was Earth. When alien scouts first came near Earth, they did not even slow down. They saw a planet with scattered nations, still fighting among themselves, still using rockets that looked weak compared to the engines of the stars. Reports were written and carried back to the great councils of the galaxy. The words in those reports were short and dismissive. Earth was marked as a minor world, a place of little value, not worth trade, not worth fear, not worth even a second thought. On Earth, the people did not even know of these reports. They had no idea that voices in faraway galaxies had already judged them. Humanity was busy with its own struggles. Nations argued, leaders clashed, and resources were fought over. But beneath the noise of division, there was also something else. Humanity carried a restless spirit, a hunger for discovery, and a stubbornness that refused to die. The alien scouts who passed Earth saw only the surface. They saw arguments, but they did not see how humans always found a way to rise after falling. They saw fragile machines, but they did not see the fierce will that built them. To the empires of the galaxy, Earth was nothing more than a speck of dust in a shining sea. One such empire, the Thalari Dominion, laughed openly when Earth was mentioned. In their councils, their rulers said, "This planet is not worth a single ship. Its people are too divided, too young, too weak. They will never step beyond their home star." The words were echoed by others. The Viuri Union called Earth a world of noise and confusion. The Kulnar Empire described it as barely above the level of wild tribes. The galaxy moved on. Wars raged between old powers. Treaties were made and broken. Fleets battled in distant skies. No one thought of Earth. No one believed it could ever matter. But history has always shown that the smallest sparks can grow into the brightest flames. On the surface of Earth, people continued to dream. A child in a quiet village looked up at the night sky and wondered if anyone lived among the stars. A scientist in a crowded city worked late, searching for a way to send humans farther than ever before. A group of explorers trained in the cold, pushing themselves to survive where no one thought life could exist. They did not know it yet, but these dreams, inventions, and struggles were the beginning of something greater. The empires that dismissed Earth failed to understand the one thing that made humans different. Humanity was not the strongest, nor the oldest, nor the most advanced. But humanity carried something that no empire could measure. It was the ability to adapt, to change, and to rise higher after every fall. Centuries of hardship had shaped the people of Earth. Floods, storms, wars, and plagues had tested them, but they never disappeared. Every disaster became a lesson. Every failure became a new beginning. This hidden strength was the seed of Earth's future, and though the galaxy ignored it, the seed was already growing. Far above Earth, in a hidden corner of the galaxy, a single alien scout named Rovan wrote his report with little thought. He described Earth as a planet of little consequence. His words were filed in the archives of the Great Dominion and forgotten. Yet one day, long after his name was erased from memory, his careless judgment would be remembered. It would be spoken not with laughter, but with regret and fear. For now, Earth was quiet. The nations argued, the people worked, and the dreamers looked to the stars. The galaxy thought Earth was small and unworthy. But humanity was patient. And when the time came, the minor world they mocked would rise with a force that none of them could escape. That was the beginning of the story. Earth was dismissed, but humanity was only waiting. Earth moved forward in silence, while the galaxy forgot about it. The great empires turned their eyes to their own endless conflicts. They fought for territory, for pride, for ancient grudges that never ended. But on Earth, something different began to grow. The people of Earth had long been divided into nations, each guarding its own interests. Yet slowly, year by year, century by century, the divisions began to fade. It was not sudden. It came through long talks, through shared disasters, and through the simple truth that survival demanded unity. Storms struck, resources ran low, and dangers grew greater than any one nation could handle alone. Humanity learned a lesson that the old empires had forgotten: together they were stronger. Under the council that finally united Earth, borders still existed, but the endless wars between nations came to an end. Soldiers who once fought each other now stood side by side. Scientists who once hid knowledge now shared it openly. Factories that once built weapons for destruction now built machines for the stars. Humanity was preparing, though they did not yet know what awaited them. The stars were far, and the journey to reach them was hard. At first, the ships of Earth were clumsy and slow. They burned fuel quickly and carried only a handful of people. But failure never stopped humans. Each setback became a step forward. Engines grew faster. Shields grew stronger. Ships that once could only touch the edge of the solar system now crossed it with ease. Still, the galaxy did not care. Reports were old, and memories were short. Earth was too small for the mighty empires to notice. This gave humanity time, and time was all they needed. In secret, they studied every signal they could capture from the stars. Strange languages, unknown maps, and fragments of battles fought light years away, all of it was stored, studied, and turned into knowledge. Among the humans there were those who dreamed of peace, and those who prepared for war. The Council of Earth decided to prepare for both. They built fleets not only for exploration but also for defense. Their ships were smaller than those of the great powers, but they were clever. Some were made to hide in shadows, invisible to scanning eyes. Some were fast enough to outrun anything that followed. Others carried weapons that no alien had seen before, weapons born not from tradition but from human imagination. The people of Earth also sought friends among the stars. Though most great empires ignored them, there were others who had also been dismissed. Small species, scattered tribes, and broken worlds, many of them had suffered under the arrogance of the larger powers. When humans reached out a hand, these forgotten people saw something they had never seen before. They saw a species that listened. They saw a species that remembered what it was like to be small. One such people were the Drei, who had lost their home world to conquest. For centuries they had wandered, hunted, and unwanted. When human ships found them drifting between stars, the Drei expected to be driven away again. Instead, they were given food, shelter, and a place to rebuild. It was the first time in living memory that someone had treated them as equals. The Drei swore loyalty to Earth, and in time they became one of humanity's strongest allies. Another were the Lura, a quiet race who lived on frozen moons. They were ignored because their worlds offered little wealth. But humans did not care for wealth alone. They cared for knowledge, and the Lura carried wisdom older than many empires. Together, humans and Lura shared secrets of survival in harsh worlds, creating technology that could outlast storms and disasters. Piece by piece, alliance by alliance, Earth built a network of strength that no empire had noticed forming. While the mighty wasted energy fighting each other, the minor world they mocked grew sharper, wiser, and stronger. The people of Earth also changed within. The restless spirit that had once pushed them to explore oceans now pushed them into the stars. Children grew up dreaming not of wars between nations but of journeys to faraway suns. Stories of division were replaced with stories of unity. Humanity was no longer a collection of separate voices, it was one voice, carried into space. Still, there were warnings. Some leaders feared that the old empires would one day remember Earth. They spoke in the council, saying, "Do not be too loud. Do not rise too quickly. If they see us, they may try to crush us." Others answered with steady calm. "If they come, we will be ready. Let them think we are still minor. Let them think we are still weak. Their mistake will be their undoing. And so Earth continued to rise, quietly but steadily. Ships left for deep space. Colonies were planted on distant moons. Knowledge from lost peoples was gathered and studied. The seed that had been ignored was now a growing storm, hidden in plain sight. The galaxy laughed at Earth once, calling it nothing more than a minor world. But storms do not stay small forever. And soon, the storm that was gathering would sweep across the stars. The storm that had been building around Earth could not stay hidden forever. The galaxy was wide, but greed always reached far. One empire, the Thalari Dominion, had grown hungry for new resources. Their fleets had spread across many systems, draining planets of metals, gases, and life itself. To them, Earth was nothing more than another easy target. The Thalari remembered the old reports. They believed Earth was still divided, still fragile, still unworthy of real attention. Their council laughed when the idea of invasion was suggested. "Why waste a large fleet?" one commander said. "Send a small force. Even that will be enough. Earth will fall before it knows what is happening." So the Thalari sent a strike fleet of 7 warships, each larger than the biggest human vessel. Their ships were dark and smooth, shaped like blades cutting through space. They carried weapons that had destroyed many worlds before. To the Thalari, it was a simple mission. But when they entered human space, they found something they did not expect. Human fleets were waiting. Small ships, swift and sharp, moved through the darkness. They were fewer in number and smaller in size, yet they carried a confidence the Thalari could not understand. The humans had studied, prepared, and trained for this very moment. They knew they could not win by strength alone, so they had chosen another path: cunning. The first battle began near the edge of Earth's system. Thalari ships scanned for easy targets, expecting scattered defenses. Instead, they saw human ships appear, fire, and vanish into asteroid fields. The invaders chased shadows, but each time they moved, a trap was waiting. Mines hidden in dust clouds, decoy signals that lured them off course, and sudden strikes from ships that seemed to come from nowhere. The Thalari grew frustrated. They had expected a quick victory, yet hours passed with little gain. Their commanders shouted orders, demanding the humans fight directly. But the humans refused to play by those rules. They did not meet the enemy head-on. They struck from the sides, from above, from behind. Every weakness was tested, every mistake punished. One human ship, the Resolute, became a symbol in that battle. Small and light, it darted between the massive Thalari cruisers, firing at their weak points, drawing their fire, and then escaping before they could lock on. Its captain, Myra, had studied Thalari battle records for years. She knew their patterns, their habits, even their pride. Every move she made turned their strength into weakness. The Thalari lost one ship, then another. Shock spread through their fleet. Never before had they faced such resistance from a world they thought so low. Their weapons were stronger, their ships were larger, but the humans fought with something no scanner could measure: the will to survive. On Earth, people watched the battle through broadcasts from the fleet. At first, fear filled their hearts. The enemy ships looked unstoppable. But as reports came in, showing human victories, fear changed into hope. For the first time, humanity realized they could stand against the giants of the galaxy. The battle raged for days. One by one, the Thalari ships fell. Some were destroyed by clever traps, others were forced to retreat after heavy damage. The last 2 ships tried to flee back to their empire, but they were chased and cornered near a dead moon. Surrounded, they surrendered, a fate they had never expected to face at the hands of humans. When the news reached the Thalari Dominion, silence filled their council. Their simple mission had turned into a crushing defeat. Reports spoke of human cunning, human unity, and human weapons that should not have existed. The Dominion's leaders, who once mocked Earth, now felt the first taste of fear. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Traders carried the story to distant systems. Pirates repeated it in secret bases. Other empires laughed at first, thinking the tale an exaggeration. But when proof arrived, the wreckage of Thalari ships drifting in space, laughter turned into unease. A minor world had faced a galactic power and won. On Earth, the victory was celebrated, but the Council remained cautious. They knew this was only the beginning. The Thalari would not forgive their defeat. Others might also come, seeking to test Earth's strength. The Council spoke with steady voices, "We have shown the galaxy who we are. Now we must be ready for what comes next." The people agreed. Factories worked day and night, building new ships. Colonies prepared defenses. Scientists searched for better engines, stronger shields, and smarter weapons. The unity that had carried them through the first battle now grew even stronger. Humanity had stood against the storm and survived. The Thalari had thought Earth would be easy prey. Instead, they had awakened something they could not control. The first confrontation was over, but the war for respect had only begun. The defeat of the Thalari strike fleet was a spark that lit the galaxy. News of Earth's unexpected victory spread faster than any ship could travel. Merchants carried stories to distant systems. Wanderers whispered the tale in hidden stations. Soon, every council chamber of the great empires had heard it. At first, many rulers dismissed the reports. They said the Thalari must have been careless, or that the human victory was nothing more than luck. But as more proof arrived, the wrecks of Thalari ships, the accounts of surrendered crews, doubt began to grow. If a so-called minor world could defeat a fleet of warships, what else might it be capable of? In the Thalari Dominion, shame turned into rage. Their rulers could not accept defeat at the hands of a people they once called weak. To them, Earth was a wound to their pride, and pride was more important than truth. They began to gather more ships, larger fleets, and more dangerous weapons. "We will crush them," said the Dominion's warlord. "We will erase this insult." But even as they prepared for war, fear whispered in their hearts. If the humans had beaten one fleet, perhaps they had more strength hidden. Perhaps this small world was not small after all. Other empires also watched with uneasy eyes. The Viuri Union held meetings in secret. Some of their leaders said, "We should stay away from Earth. Let others deal with them." Others argued, "If Earth grows stronger, they may one day challenge us too." The Kulnar Empire, proud and ruthless, declared that Earth must be watched closely. "No minor world should rise so fast," said their emperor. "If they can defeat the Dominion once, they may defeat us in time." While the galaxy filled with doubt and fear, Earth continued to grow. The people did not rest after their first victory. They knew the enemy would return, stronger than before. Every shipyard worked without pause. Every scientist searched for ways to make weapons faster, lighter, smarter. Soldiers trained in new tactics, learning how to fight enemies far larger than themselves. What made the humans different was not only their skill but their spirit. They refused to believe in impossible odds. To them, every challenge was a puzzle waiting to be solved. If their enemy had stronger armor, they would find a way to pierce it. If their enemy had bigger ships, they would build smaller ones that could slip through gaps. If their enemy had numbers, they would use speed, traps, and clever plans. The next Thalari attack came sooner than expected. This time, the Dominion sent 20 warships, each one larger than the human Resolute. They believed sheer power would be enough. But the humans were ready. The fleets of Earth no longer fought alone. Allies who had once been forgotten now joined them. The Drei sent scout ships with cloaking fields. The Lura provided technology that kept human ships alive in harsh space storms. Even small tribes, once ignored by all empires, brought their skills to help Earth. The battle that followed was fiercer than the first. Human ships darted in and out like sparks in the night, striking where the enemy was weakest. The Drai scouts confused the Thalari sensors, making them fire at empty space. The Lura-designed shields saved human ships from blasts that should have destroyed them. For every Thalari ship that advanced, 2 human ships appeared from unexpected angles. The Dominion's commanders grew desperate. They shouted for their crews to push harder, to crush the smaller vessels. But each time they thought victory was near, another trap was sprung. When the smoke cleared, the Thalari had lost more than half their fleet. The survivors fled, broken and humiliated. This second defeat was worse than the first. It was no longer possible to call it luck. The humans had proven themselves. The galaxy trembled. Fear spread like fire. If Earth could defeat 2 fleets of the Dominion, what could stop them next? Across the stars, the phrase once used as insult began to change. No longer did rulers call Earth a minor world with laughter. Now they whispered the words with unease. Some worlds began to prepare for war against humanity, while others spoke of alliances. Many feared that Earth, once ignored, might soon rise high enough to challenge even the greatest powers. On Earth itself, the council met in solemn silence. They had won again, but they knew greater storms were coming. Myra, captain of the Resolute, stood before the council and spoke, "They will not stop. They cannot accept our strength. Each victory will only bring more enemies. We must be ready, not only to defend but to lead." The council agreed. Earth was no longer only a survivor. It was becoming a force that shaped the galaxy. And with that rise came both fear and responsibility. The galaxy had laughed at Earth. Now it watched with shaking hands. The rise of fear had begun, and nothing could stop it. The galaxy had begun to notice Earth, and not with respect. Every empire that had once ignored it now watched closely. Whispers of fear had spread from council chambers to trading stations. The so-called minor world had grown stronger than anyone had imagined, and the stories of its victories traveled faster than light. The great coalition of empires had decided that Earth could not be allowed to rise further. They gathered fleets beyond imagination, hundreds of warships from multiple empires. The council called it the final solution. "We will crush them together," said the coalition leader. "They cannot survive us all." On Earth, the news of the approaching fleets spread quickly. The council met with urgency. They studied every detail of the enemy, every record of their battles, every weakness that might be exploited. Humans had fought smaller forces before, but this was the greatest challenge yet. There was no room for error. Myra, captain of the Resolute, was called to lead the first strike group. "This is the moment we have trained for," she said to her crew. "We are outnumbered, yes, but not outmatched. Remember, the galaxy may see us as minor, but we know our strength. We fight not just for survival, but for our home, for our people, and for every world that has been forgotten." The humans understood one simple truth: strength was not only in numbers or weapons. It was in unity, in coordination, and in courage. Soldiers from every nation on Earth, along with allies like the Drai and Lura, stood together. Their ships were smaller, but they were fast, smart, and adaptable. The battle began at the edge of the system. The coalition fleets assumed they would overwhelm the humans immediately. They sent wave after wave of ships, expecting the minor world to collapse under sheer force. But the humans had prepared carefully. They used decoys, cloaked ships, and hidden stations in asteroid fields. Every attack was met with countermeasures, every advance faced traps. Myra's group struck where the enemy was weakest. Small teams darted between larger fleets, confusing sensors and targeting critical systems. The Drai scouts moved silently through the shadows of space, appearing behind the largest warships at unexpected moments. The Lura technology amplified shields and allowed human ships to survive hits that should have destroyed them instantly. Even with careful planning, the humans faced great danger. Some ships were lost, some crews injured. But every loss was measured, every sacrifice meaningful. Humans learned quickly from every move the enemy made. They adapted faster than any empire could anticipate. For the first time, many of the alien commanders began to doubt themselves. They had expected easy victories, but instead they faced relentless coordination, strategy, and courage. Each human maneuver was unpredictable, each strike precise. Where the coalition thought they had superiority, they found themselves trapped, forced to retreat, or destroyed. After days of fighting, the tide began to turn decisively in humanity's favor. Ships of the coalition were destroyed faster than they could replace them. Their leaders realized that underestimating Earth had been a mistake beyond measure. Myra led a daring strike against the Central Fleet, disabling their command ship and scattering their forces. The coalition's grand plan collapsed. Across the galaxy, observers were stunned. This minor world, once laughed at, had turned the strongest coalition into retreating shadows. Worlds that had doubted Earth now reconsidered everything they knew about strength, courage, and determination. On Earth, the Council watched the final moments of the battle. Relief mixed with determination. Victory had been won, but the galaxy had not yet learned its lesson. "We have shown them what we can do," said Myra. "But we must continue to prepare. Others will come, and they will not be forgiving." The turning point was not only a victory in battle. It was a change in the perception of humanity. The galaxy had underestimated them, mocked them, ignored them. Now, no one could deny that Earth and its people were a force to be reckoned with. They had proven that courage, unity, and intelligence could triumph over greater numbers and power. Even as celebrations filled Earth and allied colonies, the Council reminded the people of the future. "We have won a great battle," said the head of the Council. "But the war for respect is ongoing. We will continue to rise, and we will continue to teach the galaxy that no minor world can be ignored." The storm that had been quietly gathering was now fully awake. Humanity had crossed a threshold. They had faced the greatest fleets in the galaxy and survived. The turning point had come, and from it, a new chapter began. Earth was no longer minor. Earth was a force, growing stronger with each passing day, ready to face whatever the stars could throw at them. The galaxy had changed its mind about Earth. No longer was it a minor world to be ignored. Every empire that had laughed now watched in fear. Traders, explorers, and warlords whispered the same words: "Earth has risen." The people who had once dismissed it realized too late that the small blue planet held a power they could not match. In the Thalari Dominion, shame and anger were everywhere. Their leaders had once thought humans weak and simple. They had sent fleets, expecting quick victories. Instead, they had lost ship after ship, their pride shattered. Now they were forced to admit a truth they had long refused to see: Earth was no longer a target, it was a threat. Other empires felt it too. The Viuri Union watched in silence as Earth's influence spread. The Kulnar Empire sent spies to observe, only to return with reports that human fleets were growing stronger, faster, smarter. The galaxy had made one mistake after another, underestimating humanity, and the consequences were now clear. On Earth, the people understood the power they held. But they did not see it as a chance for conquest. Their goal was not to destroy, but to protect, to ensure that the galaxy could no longer act without respect. Humanity had learned what it meant to fight for survival, and now they also knew what it meant to lead. The council gathered to discuss the next step. Myra, the captain of the Resolute, spoke first. "We have defeated the fleets that came to destroy us. But we must remember, fear can turn into hatred. Others may try to strike before we grow too strong. We must be ready, not only to defend, but to guide. Our actions now will shape the future of the galaxy." The council agreed. Alliances were strengthened. Human diplomats worked with the Drei, the Lura, and other allies to create a network of trust and cooperation. Technology that had once been kept secret was shared carefully with allies, ensuring that every friendly world could survive threats. Humanity was no longer alone. When the next coalition fleet approached, it found not a single planet to attack, but a united system ready to defend itself. Human fleets moved with precision, coordinated with allies in ways that had never been seen before. The enemy believed strength lay in numbers. Humanity showed that strength lay in unity, planning, and determination. The battle that followed was swift and decisive. Human ships, supported by allied fleets, cut through the enemy in ways no one had imagined. Even the largest warships of the coalition were outmaneuvered by smaller, faster human vessels. Traps and ambushes, carefully planned for months, caught the coalition off guard. One by one, their ships fell or surrendered. When the dust settled, the coalition had been broken. Many of its leaders were captured, their empires forced to retreat. The galaxy had seen the power of humanity in full. Earth was no longer simply a planet that survived, it was a planet that commanded respect. Across the stars, messages spread of Earth's triumph. Worlds that had once ignored the planet now sent envoys, seeking alliances and trade. Even the empires that had once mocked humanity recognized that resistance was futile. Earth had risen, and the reckoning had been delivered. Myra stood on the bridge of the Resolute, looking out at the fleets returning from battle. She thought of the people back on Earth, of the scientists, soldiers, and explorers who had prepared for this moment. "We have won," she said quietly. "But winning is not the same as stopping. We must continue to protect what we have built, and teach the galaxy that strength comes with wisdom, courage, and unity." On Earth, celebrations filled the cities. But the Council reminded everyone that victory did not mean the end of effort. Humanity had changed the galaxy's perception, but they would continue to grow stronger, smarter, and more united. The people understood this truth: power was not just about force, but about responsibility. The reckoning had come. The empires that had once laughed now bowed in respect. Traders, explorers, and rulers spoke the same words across countless systems: Earth had proven itself. The minor world they had ignored had become a force beyond measure. And yet, for all the victories and fear, the people of Earth remained grounded. They had fought not for glory, but for survival, for the right to continue dreaming, exploring, and growing. The galaxy had learned a lesson, and Earth had shown that strength came not from size or age, but from courage, unity, and the refusal to be dismissed. The storm that had begun quietly in a small blue world had now swept across the galaxy. Its power was recognized, its presence feared, and its resolve unbroken. Humanity had faced the reckoning and had not only survived but risen higher than anyone could have imagined.